More on the trade conflict, let's speak to Steve Pruitt. He's a former director of the Budget Committee for the U.S. House of Representatives. Currently, he's managing partner at the consulting firm Watts Partners, joining us from St. Louis. Steve, as you look at the current landscape and this back and forth, do you see an exit ramp?
Absolutely, and I think it's great that there are some back-channel discussions going on. I think you may recall from an earlier discussion you and I had, that was one of the things that I was looking for to determine whether or not we would ultimately settle this whole discussion amicably. So the fact that there are those back-channel discussions that have continued is a positive sign, and I hope that, quite frankly, that they continue, and that, unfortunately, I won't get to spend any more time with you talking about it for a while.
Well, we'll miss you, but I think everybody's going to breathe a sigh of relief once that happens. You're in the U.S. state of Missouri. You're in St. Louis. In that state, soybean farmers are dealing with basically a double whammy. Of the leading soybean producing states, they have the worst growing conditions. They're dealing with a drought and now the tariffs. How's this going to play out in the midterm elections, do you think, in the Midwest? That's the core of Trump territory.
Well, I think going back to the previous point, I don't see these talks that are evolving right now moving fast enough to, quite frankly, get the Republicans off the hook here. I think they're going to pay dearly at the polls this year, despite the discussions we hear now about farmers being willing to give the administration some time to work through these issues. They've got big problems because contracts are already being canceled. The silos are full of soybeans and corn and other commodities already. While the prices have started to decline, they haven't taken a major dive. Trump is already talking about putting $12 billion out there, but the money he's talking about is not going to help everybody who's impacted by all this. In fact, I saw a figure, $39 billion is what the projected cost of all of this Trump chaos that we're seeing right now is going to cost us either now or later. So they're not doing great, but they're not feeling the pain yet. And I think they know that it's coming. Steve, and it's only a matter of time.
Steve, I read a Reuters piece today about New Madrid County, which is also in Missouri, where the winners and losers of this trade war actually sit side by side on Sunday at church. The tariffs that Trump's imposed on steel and aluminum have revived an aluminum plant there, which a lot of people never thought was going to recover. But like you mentioned, the fields in the county there, the farmers holding off on purchasing equipment, they're renting the land to hunters. We think about this as pitting one country against another, but what about what it does to communities like this?
Well, it will ultimately tear some of these communities apart. Unfortunately, if you just do a simple comparison, in that church that you just mentioned, there are probably more farmers than there are steel workers, quite frankly. So their impact not only on the community and on the collection plate are going to be of much greater impact than we would ever imagine. And I think America has gotten its first true dose of Trump chaos out of all of these trade talks. I hope that they step up and start demanding much more thoughtful policies and certainly more discussion with the public so that we know what the hell is going on.
Steve, you used to work on Capitol Hill. I mean, should members of Congress be speaking out more forcefully?
Well, I guess there are two sides of that argument. There are many who argue that they should be, that Congress has a role to play in that. There are two problems, though. Congress, as you know, is facing the voters in about 96 days now. And half of Congress, DNR, are scared to death, and the other half are scared for the other half, okay? And as a result, that basically promotes nothing but gridlock. So they're not going to take any major steps. You will continue to see those folks who are not running again speak up, but until the voters speak, the rest of the Congress is probably just going to stand around with their hands in their pocket looking for another dime.
Steve Pruitt joining us from St. Louis, Missouri. Thanks so much.